Okay, today I'm going to address the question I probably get more than anything else from newer photographers, up and coming photographers, especially those that want to get into sports photography, and that's the question of gear. And quite often in some of these Facebook groups and chat groups, you'll hear a quote something to the effect of, "It's not the gear, it's the photographer." And there is a lot of fundamental truth in that statement, without a doubt. But the uncomfortable truth of the situation is, especially in sports photography, and I'll even throw in wildlife photography because there's a lot of similarities in working conditions. The uncomfortable truth is that gear will not make you a better photographer, but it absolutely can make your photographs better. And what do I mean by that? Like I said, the common sentiment in a lot of people's minds is that it's all about the photographer. A good photographer can make pictures with any gear. And yes, that's true. Absolutely true. But there are some minimum requirements for gear if you want to maximize your abilities. You're going to need longer lenses, faster frame rates, and things like that to do it. Could you do it with a 4x5? Man, I've seen it done by some world class photographers. Have taken a good old fashioned speed graphic to the Olympics and made amazing images. It's a different kind of photography approach there, and it's really not very efficient. When it came to putting out their daily requirements, guarantee you they were using the best gear on the market. There's a reason professional photographers have the best gear on the market at any given time, because it makes you more efficient. It gets you closer to the action in a working environment where we are continually moved farther and farther back away from the action and limited in our access, at least in the environments that I work in. There really is no substitute for this. You can't get around without having this very easily. Can you do it? Absolutely. I've done it. I've gone through times in my career where I've had the best gear, where I've had to make compromises for varying reasons. And it matters. I spent several years shooting a different brand of camera that was pretty good. Got me probably 80% of where I needed to be. And then last year I switched to Sony and got myself a 400 2.8 with the 1.4 converter. And all of a sudden I'm able to make pictures that would have been much more of a challenge with my other gear. Made me more efficient, maybe helped me stretch the envelope a little bit to see what we can do and what we can pull off. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, I guess is what I'm saying. I like to use the analogy of like a race car driver. You take a race car and you put an amateur driver in there, and that driver is instantly going to be able to go faster than they've ever gone before. But they're still not going to get anywhere close to where that professional with a higher skill level can push that car. And conversely, you take an experienced race car driver and you put him in your average Toyota, and he's not even in the race because he doesn't have the right tools to allow him to push the limits of what those tools can do and what his own skill set can do. Sometimes the tools cause you to push your skill set. Sometimes your skill set allows you to push the tools. Both of them matter. It's not one over the other, right? Even if we talk about the different genres of photography, portrait photographers, wedding photographers, architects, scenics, wildlife photographers, and sports photographers, we all have different basic requirements on what we need from our gear to do, what we need our gear to do. And some of the genres are a little more forgiving on technical performance, and some of them are not. If you're a portrait photographer and you're working in the studio under highly controlled situations, autofocus speed doesn't really matter to you. Facial recognition doesn't really matter to you. Big, huge lenses and fast frame rates and all of that kind of stuff doesn't matter to you, right? You have much different requirements. A wedding photographer requires different things from a creative aspect, however they like to shoot things. Scenic photographers, where I will probably dig out and use my tripod twice a year. Scenic photographer, it's an essential piece of his kit. So that because of the way he's going to approach his job or her job. Because it's not an absolute one or the other. It's not that the photographer is all important, and it's not that the gear is all important. It's a little bit of both. You have to keep working on your craftsmanship so you up your skill level. As you can up your skill level, then you can up your gear, and your gear will push your skill level, and you'll keep climbing that ladder until you reach the pinnacle of where the gear is. And then you're just going to have to push until we get the next big leap in technology. Who knows what that is, but all I got to say right now is the gear I'm currently rocking, man, it just doesn't miss. Which allows me to, it doesn't miss focusing is what I mean. Which allows me to push things even further, shoot even tighter, shoot from angles I wouldn't normally shoot at f-stops I wouldn't normally shoot. Shooting a basketball game at 1.8 with paper thin depth of field, I really couldn't do that without a super reliable facial recognition software, and it is just out of the park, which allows me to shoot those kinds of pictures. Still, my keeper rate is down, but it allows me to make those moves and push those envelopes a little bit. So I'm going to wrap this up just by saying keep banging on your craftsmanship, get your skill level up. There's no substitute for time on target. Get out there, put in the time, do the work, make the mistakes, learn the lessons, and get better. Keep shooting with intention. Have ideas of what you're trying to do, what you want to accomplish, what your backgrounds are going to look like, what they can look like. Make intentional choices in your photography, especially in your sports photography. Keep banging on it. It'll come. Now go out there and make a picture worth looking at.